Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Monday, October 28th, 2024 public board meeting at the Kingston City Land Bank. We do ask that members of the public limit their comments to no more than 2 minutes per speaker. My name is Mike. I serve as the moderator, and with that, I turn it over to the board chair, Nate Megan.
Great. Hey, welcome everybody. Nice to have such a packed house today. We'll start with the call to order. So I'll go start from the left.
Joanna Dorman, board member. Sarah Georgia, board member.
Project Starlight, board member. Paul Hines, board member.
Barbara Ianides, board member.
And Nate Hennigan, board member. And nobody else on the call yet. Great. So I think we have a quorum. I'm looking for a motion to accept the prior meeting minutes as uploaded to YouTube and approve the current meeting agenda.
There is an error in the meeting minutes that has since been amended.
Okay.
I marked myself and Ethel as absent, but we were present.
Again, do I hear a motion to accept the prior meeting minutes as uploaded to YouTube and amended by Project Starlight just now and approve the current meeting agenda?
Motion to
Just second.
do all that. Second.
Second. All in favor? Great. Board chair announcements. So, not too much for me to announce today because I think a lot of it's going to be covered later on in today's meeting. But just wanted to say that really excited. I'm sure we'll talk about this plenty later on in the meeting, but very excited to start up our next campaign in just a couple of days on November 1st for the Keystone Project, which are the 4 houses that will be available in January.
The lottery would be in January,
The lottery.
probably April.
Yes,
Percent.
probably April,
Yeah.
but lottery will be in January. So very exciting. This is the most number of houses we have sold at once. So it's very exciting. Yeah, I know that Owen sent around an email recently about doing some tours of the properties, so definitely encourage everybody to take advantage of that. And yeah, that's all. So I will pass it off, or actually public comments. Seeing no members of the public, we will jump right ahead to our executive director report.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I will try to keep it brief, maybe not as long as last time, but the rhythm of it, I think, is probably at your discretion. So ask any questions if you have anything. Pipeline discussion updates. We do have one update. So last time I reported an ancient resolution from 2018 for a property on Rodney Street. We made the decision after much internal debate of 6 years, off again, on again, to reject the property formally, upon which the city of Kingston thankfully has announced its plans for that site in a contiguous 70 some odd acres. So, hey, Aaron, welcome. Welcome, Rebecca. Just kicking off. So 55 Rodney has been rejected, and thankfully there's a great plan for it. Public use, read all about it in the papers, and I will not be reporting on it going forward. Oh, hey, wait.
Where are we going?
Good in.
Hold the chair, we'll make room.
I'm sorry, 100%. We should pull that around the corner and walk.
Yeah, but the camera's there, so.
Okay, resolution 66, 2023. One vacant lot at 24 Belmont that we still haven't made a decision on. No updates from that. We're still waiting to apply for and receive the LBI funding from the state, the Land Bank Initiative, on which I can possibly do something for it. We had some other thoughts, and I'll report on that on the potential new funding opportunity, but those didn't pan out. So how to fund that. So that brings us to Resolution 134 of 2024. This includes both the Article 19A properties, which would be the ones the city takes to the code action for vacant or abandoned, or possibly Article 11 properties that have been stalled during COVID, ramped back up potentially in the budget this year for tax foreclosures. So no big updates on those other than, I don't think I've announced this in a few months. So for people who aren't familiar, there's 7 properties that the city of Kingston is looking at in Article 19A. So for what that's worth, we have a number. You're seeing where the process is tracking through a judicial action thing. It's new, it's untested. If one works out, it's my understanding that then 6 can be added behind it, so stay tuned for updates on that. No updates on Article 11 tax foreclosures, although I think we should keep it on our agenda for various reasons. Similarly, but not as, actually I jumped over something. So I won't, I had a big update that I was hoping we could have at this month's meeting last month to say we're embargoing, talking about our RFP response. We are still embargoing, talking about our RFP response because the city has not made an announcement formally. We're hopeful that that takes place in the coming weeks, at which point we have a great response that we put in that I'd love to, that Kyle put together that's awesome, that I'd love to distribute. It has a beautiful illustration among other things in the package. And we're hopeful to hear something soon. So as soon as we hear something, all of you will hear something. And then the one that I jumped down to, the National Community Stabilization Trust. I've got an update this month. It's not much, but we really tried. Kyle and I met with a representative from NCST. We let them know that we exist, that we're interested, that we're ready, willing, and able and funded to do some things. And my takeaway, Kyle, is that he sort of apologized to us for having nothing. And it seemed like he was having a lot of these calls. I said, you sort of seem like a doctor giving bad news to everybody all day long. And he was like, yeah. So like, that's the update for NCST. We live in hope that something may come from that. Pre-development, no change from last month. Still 4 properties. 3rd Avenue, we have an update, an executive session at the end of this meeting. The home HDP, we have some updates at ADC. So Kyle put together a great application in conjunction with Stacy and with Owen, who put together great preliminary price estimates that we included in our estimates, what it all looks like. We all kind of work together as a team. And so that has been submitted, an updated presentation at ADC, ever so slightly, just I think a brief update for your awareness. Like Nate mentioned, maybe most excitingly, property sales. We have 4 properties. That's more than we've ever sold at one time or offered for sale at one time. The collateral, majority of the, well, a lot of the campaign collateral is in the board package. Thank you very much, Paul, for the mood boards. They're awesome. They look amazing. They show everyone what the properties can look like without having to go to the property. It really helps out our homeownership counselor Rupco to be able to have that collateral. It looks great and it really preserves, I think, sort of the branding and style and design and everything we've come to be known for. So that's really helpful. Kyle put together a great flyer along with some participation from people that he knows to translate into Spanish, which is greatly appreciated. And my wife helped with the billboard. So the billboard is going up on the 15th. It'll be around the circle. I think Bartek recommended that. So thank you for that. It's going to be awesome. And it's the first time we've done that. And it's like the bus sign, but it won't be moving. So like, I would see it drive by my house in the morning, the bus. Like, there it is. But anyway. Totally. Many other exciting aspects of this will probably be discussed at comms, and very excited. I will mention that we had our kickoff with Rupco and they agreed to our plan and our timeline. So we're on the same page with them around that. Potential new funding opportunities. So I referenced before trying to find a solution for Belmont. Among other properties, we had talked to the city about using the restore funding that the city gets an annual allocation from the state for. That didn't work out. So it's the 3rd time we've tried, maybe the 4th time will be the charm. We'll see. But in the meantime, I'll remove that item from my reporting because we already know the answer. As I've mentioned, more LBI funding once we get 75% spend. I don't want to steal Kyle's thunder, but he's tracking the total number that we have. So we're getting close. I do think that we will be able to apply next month. So we're finally there. Things that we could potentially use it on include this home program for pre-development and hard costs, which the state has agreed to allow us to do. The Grand Slam RFP, if we win, if we're lucky enough, for pre-development and hard costs. Article 19A or Article 11, stabilization. So a lot of times when we buy properties, the insurance is incredibly expensive to hold them sometimes. And the security system that we put on, we found putting these like steel grates, they're super expensive, but they're super impenetrable. So that's a use. I mean, they're outlandishly expensive, but that's a potential use. Belmont cleanup and potentially new acquisitions are the last pieces of what we could do. So stay tuned for that once we get to that threshold. And then the home HDP funding, I'll just mention that we've put in an application. I won't mention the numbers. That's going to come up at ADC, but excited about that. So in my other category, this will be very straightforward, just a few items. I would like to let everyone know that I've submitted our quarterly report to the City of Kingston. This is required under the disposition policy. So that's in our rehabs. German Street is included in the state of New York's traveling road show for their programs. And so we have a picture that's in your board package, like they like our stuff so much that they're putting it in. It's great. So that was really helpful. We saw that in Albany when they gave the presentation. So that's how we got that. The 13th of December is our holiday event. We have a bartender, I believe. Thank you, Sarah, for offering to help, try to find somebody and other people. But you know what, the spirit of the intent, it was there, the enthusiasm was there. We can bring in chairs, just saying that. I don't know if anyone wants that, but that's the thing. I'm gonna try to manage all of this, but I think the thing that would be really helpful is that the space is limited to 100 people. It would be great if we could settle on inviting X number of people so I could get going on the food and the booze and the glasses and the napkins and the garbage can, like all that stuff. That would be really helpful to get some feedback on that sooner rather than later. Maybe after the meeting we could talk or something. And then the 10th of January is our awesome annual retreat. As usual, Nate and I will make a presentation of some sort. This year, I believe Stacy, Owen, and Kyle may be giving their own side presentations in some shape or form. I'll send the agenda around so people can see what it has looked like, but I think overall it's a great session. It's really kind of casual. It's in a cool setting. We get to go to the blacksmith shop and pot hanger.
That was the
hangers.
best part.
Yeah. Totally.
There was another funny option, wasn't there? It was like the blacksmith or something else.
Yeah,
It was equally
we had
really-
one other option.
Yeah, I think it was too.
There's like,
That's what it is.
for sure. There's like another, like.
It's not we would lose people. We barely made it to the last. This is
It's
it.
true.
Totally, no, totally.
So put us on high. Well, earlier.
It's true. Hopefully no one gets lost and the gate will be open this time. They were really, it's a really mission aligned group and they're really happy we were there. It's a perfect spot. So please send me or us topics if you can think of something, if something jumps out. In the past, I think we've given Nate and I like a broad overview of how we got here and what we did and what we didn't do and, you know, get into some details. And I know between Stacy, Kyle, and Owen, they'll be covering various other things, but like if there's a burning thing that you can think of, it would be really helpful now to try to start working on that. Last thing, Keystone program flyers. So they're in your board package, they're in your email. If you want printed copies, I'm going to take a slight little twist to it. Just send me an email and I'll tell you when they're ready to pick up at Staples. I think that's easiest to like distribute them. I will probably print some and leave them in City Hall if City Hall's okay with it. But that might be an easiest way to get folks copies because in other times, but.
Yeah, you can always put it in your mailbox.
Or I could put it in the KCLB mailbox here in City Hall. But someone let me know because there were about 44 cents each to print. Last time we printed 500, I think, and we didn't, I used them to start fires in my house, like all winter, because I wanted to use them for something. So as needed.
Start with a smaller amount.
Totally. And that is my update.
Are we just doing the flyers and not the little cards like we did last time?
We had not planned to do the cards.
Okay.
We could certainly come up with something.
I mean, I think we could just do one or the other. I don't think both necessarily.
Okay. And I don't know, Kyle, maybe the flyer scales to the card size, something like that.
Oh, Kyle, you're muted.
Yeah, the flyer is gonna be, it's like 5.5 by 8.5, so that's the mailer size.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Card size flyer.
Great.
We're also, just for awareness, we're also doing like electronic mailers that go out in people's mailboxes. We have web ads, we have print ads, we have press release, we have X, Y, we have a bunch of different blanket coverage, so you can see that. Yeah.
So are we gonna bring any of the printed card flyer things to the rough draft event?
Send me an email with how many you want. Make sure you have, them, or you know when you can get them.
Which one's the rough draft of that?
That's a comms update.
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry. Sorry, get ahead of things.
That is all I have. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Moving on to the committee reports, so we'll kick it off with ABC and Aaron.
So per usual, I'll serve as a pass-through to our beloved staff. First off, the Keystone Program construction and financing updates. Owen, we'll start with you and go through the updates to your spreadsheet that you presented to us last week.
Sure. I'm gonna share my screen. You see this?
Yes.
Okay, great.
We zoom in just a little bit.
I will try to make it bigger.
There we
Yeah.
go. We're in business.
Hi everybody. So not too much to highlight here. We got these six. We have these 4 houses fully under construction and 2 houses that are in contract with little things being ordered or worked on for them. If we kind of come down to the bottom here, this is from when the ADC happened. So by now these requisitions are finalized, and you can see the scheduled deviation down at the bottom. Basically the same story as last month. Overall on track. Yellow is the one that's lagging a little bit behind. It does have some momentum behind it now, so I expect it to catch up all right. Same kind of story on the contingency as last month. We're doing okay, not spending the contingency, and things are balancing out on the job site. Yeah, we're moving through some of the kind of interesting or potentially challenging aspects of construction, and like I think I mentioned the ADC that we're kind of wrapping up these retaining walls now, and dealing with some other things that are, just a little out of the ordinary, and projects seem like they're doing okay. We're 34% overall as far as work in place, but for the houses that are under construction, they're like around the halfway or passing the halfway mark. I don't think I have too much more update on construction. I think Mike or Nate already mentioned that we got some board walkthroughs scheduled in the first week of December, and most people have already RSVP'd to that, so thank you. So I have a sense of who's coming to which, and we'll meet at 38 Chapel, and we'll try to see what houses we can that are under construction. Any questions about what's going on?
Just to highlight again, in praise of you, Owen, that it's bizarre to see negative numbers next to contingency spend. It's great.
Yeah, we're there. We'll see it again next month how things have evolved, but some things have come up since I put this together for the ADC committee, but the overall picture is we're doing good with that. So we will eat into the contingency some, but that's expected, and we're in a good position at this point in the process.
Yeah, thank you, Owen.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll pass it over to you for the requisition updates. There we go.
Thanks, Aaron. Similarly, just reporting we're on track here. So at a project level, we've submitted half of requisition 9. We've got another part of it that we expect to submit this month, but adding $260,000 from LBI, as Mike mentioned. Hopefully we'll be able to apply next month once we hit the 75% threshold of LBI funds. We're at 57% drawn on LBI funds that are just applied to this project, but overall we're at 61%, factoring in LBI funds we've used on the 3rd Ave project. So that's good news there. We keep spending that down quickly. Yeah, but not much to report otherwise here. We're on track, and we might start drawing down from additional funding sources this month or next month as we start drawing down on the LBI funds we have reserved for pre-development. But that's all budgeted out and something we're anticipating. So yeah, next month we might start seeing some NOVO funds drawn down as it's next in the waterfall. But yeah, that's it on the financing update. I'm happy to answer any questions.
It could be anybody else?
How have the reimbursements, has that been going smoothly?
Who's the question for? You guys all of us are in the weeds on it. Maybe Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, it's been taking a little bit longer than we anticipated. I don't think anything we can't handle, but yeah, we're trying to work with HCR to understand their timelines a little bit better. And maybe we can work out our submission window so we can make sure that they come back a little bit faster. But yeah, slower than we'd like, but not a major concern in any way.
So, and ARPA will also be on a delayed thing as well, right?
The difference is that we've been treating the LBI funds as if they were like a construction loan. So it's on an as incurred basis.
Okay.
Thinking that it would go as fast as we were told it would go, and then the ARPA funding is only on a reimbursable basis.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's faster than LPI. It's kind of weird.
As long as you're not submitting like 4 requisitions
I know.
instead of waiting for
I know.
one. Good.
We won't be able to.
So there's no other questions here. Kyle, you want to transition to your home dev presentation? Oh, yeah.
There it is. Yeah, so presented this previously, just this home buyer development program. It's a new construction program. And just the updates we have here. Mike and I submitted an application last Wednesday. We are requesting funding for 3 homes. It's gonna be 2 2-bedrooms, 1 1-bedroom. Right now, we're anticipating total project costs around 1.6 million, of which 700,000 will be covered by this home buyer development subsidy. The rest will be coming hopefully from LBI funds, which we hope to apply for in the coming months. We're anticipating a 12-month construction schedule and going to construct all 3 homes at once. So that will put us well within the home buyer development program window, which they're typically expecting a 36-month construction time. So we sent out this application, still waiting to hear back. Hopefully we'll hear back this week, next week, but Mike and I are keeping our eye on this, and we're going to follow up to see if there's anything else we can submit to help out with our application. But feeling pretty good about that. Yeah, happy to answer any questions about this.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, you first.
I guess I have 2 questions. One is, well, I guess how much, we're talking about the building approach at this point, or is that still?
The on-site versus
Yes.
modular.
Yeah.
The-
I guess that okay, I just didn't want to put it up.
No, I mean, I think everything is still open to interpretation because we haven't bid anything really out, but we saw price efficiencies in the modular.
Okay. And then the other question had to do with, and this is looking far out, how we would think, and for both of you, how, Kyle, and like how we would think about setting prices for homes, for these homes, given, you know, the high cost and then, and the subsidy amount of the home funds. You know, if we were to obviously reimburse ourselves, or to try to get back 100% of the LBI, do the prices, we'd actually end up with home prices that are higher than we're selling to the rehabs. But yeah, how should we think about that going forward?
Sorry, Kyle, go ahead. please.
Say the program has an 80% AMI requirement, so that's gonna be our pricing limitation there.
And we looked at this originally without knowing that we could put the LBI funds in, exactly what you said, with if the land bank was putting $1 in, we'd have to sell for that dollar to get it back out. Realizing the LBI funds don't have to be repaid is the only way that this works.
Okay.
Otherwise, the land bank would put in $917,182, and then it would be a thing to try to get that money out. So
So we can set sales prices according to the AMI targets and the household sizes for the homes and not, okay, that's amazing, I mean, that's
Yeah.
great.
this LBI funding is great. It's really unique.
Yeah, because I definitely don't want like us to be selling a 1-bedroom for $350.
Totally. Totally.
Okay.
So we submitted the application on the 23rd. When will we get an answer?
Did they tell us 2 weeks, a week, 2 weeks check-in? That's why you said we're checking in this week?
I don't recall them saying anything other than they received our application and they'll let us know. Mike, you may have heard something else from
I have
Marguerite,
not.
maybe. No?
No.
Yeah, so they didn't give a timeline, but we're just gonna keep pushing.
I mean, if only 5 people have submitted applications to date and caps at $1 million per project, we know the money's there, so.
Yeah, that was 5 as of a few weeks ago, actually. That was from the original presentation, but I don't imagine there've been, I haven't heard anything else.
They definitely didn't tell us we're full when we applied, so that was good.
Something to look forward to in the new year.
Yes. Totally.
So thank you, Kyle.
Thanks.
That is it today for EDC.
Thank you, Aaron. With that, we will turn over to finance and audit. Rebecca.
Hi, I wanted to thank the committee first, which I should have done before, for taking such good care and putting in all sorts of new ideas and things like that while I was delayed fracturing my hand. Thank you very much for doing that. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the meeting today. It was very helpful and for taking a little time to explain some things to me, Mike. I appreciate it. The important song and dance about finance is that we're on budget and on schedule. That's really the important thing, and that there is always a rather remarkable sort of agreement between all of the different bookkeeping. That's how I think of it, between the construction costs, what Kyle is doing, and what we get in the finance committee. So amen, and thank you. It's wonderful work. We did have to change the insurance because of the insurance cost increased somewhat, or maybe substantively from the 23 budget projected amount. But I've been informed and I'm clear that it was not onerous to balance that out with funds from due diligence and the expense line item. So we're good with that going forward. Certainly that insurance going up is not unexpected. Everybody's insurance went up, I'm sure. So it's the going thing. We did institute, just to remind everyone, we did institute what is technically called a safe harbor 401k for the employees of the land bank. And that is after some annoyance, I got the feeling from, some difficulty in setting it up, that's finally working well and moving forward. And I hope you guys are happy with that. We will, I think, look for a better servicer, which is easier to work with down the road. And I think we decided going forward that the finance committee would like to investigate health and dental insurance or that welfare insurance, right, for the employees. So that will take us a while to look at, but we want you to know that we definitely think you should have a full, a full compensation package, right? As soon as the organization can sustain that. And certainly we'll discuss it at some length in committee and here and look for everyone's approval. So stay tuned with that. And that's what's going on. I personally have my eye on how we're gonna look at the budget going forward. And just because we have more challenges, more opportunities, and more security and more information, right? All of which is gonna be more complex. So I'm looking forward to making sure we continue a kind of intelligent, forward-thinking budgeting process that keeps us from stumbling or screwing up anywhere in the middle of something. Like we don't, and it's a delicate balance. I think you guys do a great job with it. It's also a volatile business that all of these things are inside of. And it's an interesting moment in America. So thank you for doing good work, and we look forward to keeping our eye on the ball. That's it from the finance committee.
Great. Then I will entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Should to accept the treasurer's report.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Great. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Next up, the Communications, Community Engagement, and Fundraising Committee. Bartek.
All right, so this month we discussed the sales and marketing campaign, which is launching on November 1st and ending on December 15th. 45-day window. We discussed all of the different outreach methods we're going to be using. So we're launching on 11/1, which is Friday, and so we're going to have a press release. Yep. We're going to have a newsletter. We're going to have social media posts, which I saw that earlier. Get a review. That will be Friday.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun.
I have some questions.
Yes, any questions, discussion?
Already applied for previous rounds, will they be automatically? put into the
Yes, so
library?
this was also my discussion, so they have to reapply within the marketing window. Yes, and so we have reviewed and agreed upon language that Mike will be sending to the however many hundreds of individuals are on our list. But it makes it clear that they have to reapply to be considered. Cool. Yes.
Thank
You'll
you for,
receive that.
thank you for doing that, so it's clear this time.
Totally.
Was it
Yes.
not clear
We've
before
learned over
for
this.
confusion?
Yes.
People thought that they were already.
I think in the past, what we also did was ask the homeownership counseling
Yeah.
group to do it instead.
Sent by Pastor, and it's kind of a
Okay.
fuzzy email.
Or vague.
That wasn't clear. I think
That's
it's
great.
pretty, it's as clear as it's gonna get. My one question is if we could translate.
Ah, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
We do know there are some Spanish.
I'm
speakers
assuming
around.
Spanish is the language.
Do we have a resource for that?
We do.
Okay.
See the thumbs up? We have a resource that has a resource, or our resources
I
include
mean, it's
resources.
like 30 words.
Totally. We're on it.
Okay.
That's-
Do
thank
you
you
ever
for-
use like ChatGPT to translate and then just have a native speaker?
That's
review
an
it?
option, I guess. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's short.
Okay.
Like it's really short.
No worries.
Okay, any other questions on? I thought it was helpful, Mike, as we get into the marketing period, for you to report back how many
Of course.
we're getting,
Yep.
so we can make sure that we're on
Excited.
track.
I'm
We're getting
excited.
something.
It's a sad life. This is one of them.
Question about the application process, and it comes off of the translation question, which is, are there accessible versions of the application process? If someone is,
Yes.
and Repco provides those, or we provide them?
For the application itself, after the registration on our website.
I just want to make sure that anyone who is blind or whatever would be able to.
Visual disability, I don't know if our website is great with that. It might just be the browser that could help with that. That probably is a gap, but it's not.
Right, I mean, we have had in the past, right, language that if you need help with the initial form, they could call the
That's.
counselor, which I think we'll still have. Yeah. So if they can't complete the initial form, I mean, they would.
If someone has problem completing the form, they can call the counselor,
Right,
and the counselor will provide them with some sort of assistance, whether it's visual, auditory, or even just comprehension.
I think Repco's pretty comprehensive what they can offer,
Okay.
certainly more so than we could be, and so. I think that'll
I
be
mean, I would assume that would be fundamentals or go and hope that that would be, but just want to make sure that we take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Make the space.
No, I know that we made a decision to do the actual promotion big process ourselves. Is Robco gonna be promoting it or no? No.
They are not promoting it, other than they might, I would imagine, once this question came up right before the meeting about when are we having our info session? That's the one where we get on with Repco, we get on with the Spanish real-time translator in a separate Zoom room, we describe the process, we have a timeline, we have takeaways, we have all this great stuff. We haven't set that date yet, but my guess is when we do, they might publish it in their newsletter. That would probably help. That's as well, for sure.
Okay, next we discuss the mixer. Let's call it tabling. I wrote down that, is that confirmed?
For the 8th
For the,
Yes.
yes, so that's 5 to 7 p.m.
of this month.
What are the hours?
I told them that we
November.
would let them know what hours, but it would be after business hours, so like after 5 o'clock.
Yes, I think 5 to 7.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 to 7.
It's 11/8.
November 8th, yep,
at
rough draft.
And so, yeah, that would be, we will have a table, we will have a tablecloth. We will have all of our totes. We will have the poster boards with before and afters.
Yes, so Staples sent a message back today, so we have to resend them the files. They were meant to be delivered yesterday, so I believe they'll either be delivered in time for the event, or we will pivot to copy hut. And then they will also get.
Okay, plenty of time.
And we'll have two sets. People can take
Copy.
They're quick.
Yeah, what do you need, 1 hour?
I've had to buy them so many bagels to get that 1 hour. Yeah, sure. You can do it.
And so I think that's an opportunity for letting people know about the homes that we have them available. We cannot speak to their eligibility. We are merely letting them know that they're available. Right? If they have financial eligibility questions, we're gonna say, fill out this form, and then home council will talk to them.
And if you want, if anyone wants flyers for this event, please send me a number.
So there'll be some-
Definitely just flowers.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
How many? 100. Oh, is that what you said?
100, yeah.
100, done.
And once we confirm the date and time, I'd like to, we can update the website to put it on our events page
Oh, cool.
and make a Facebook link too.
Yeah.
Our Facebook.
And an Instagram on Inspire story saved.
Are you gonna call out for
Donate.
help or
Yes.
like, need help?
So,
I'm not gonna be able to be there
yeah, so I think as many, I know Barbara
because my
can't
medication fog.
make it. But
I have 2 items.
I will be there, and then if anyone else can come, that would be great.
Yeah,
I can
I'll
make it
stop
too.
it.
Okay, and we can, I'll send you an email.
Okay. You're gonna be there the whole time. But we'll stop it.
I'll be there.
I'll try to make it.
I
Fine.
think it'll be fun.
It's a great spot.
It's a Friday. We'll go out.
Yeah, I'm. Just staying.
And then
Live readings of Jane Jacobs.
and then the other part is we, as of 11/1, we are also starting to raise money for the Grand Street home to reduce the purchase price. So we will also be fundraising. If people are interested.
You have like a different board.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say we need some collateral for that, probably.
Also- Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say a flyer with a QR code to PayPal or Venmo.
No,
Add that to the flyer.
and just.
Not Venmo, not
Not Venmo.
PayPal.
PayPal's
Only.
Is it
better.
the same? I mean, PayPal, not Venmo.
I don't know.
Okay, it doesn't matter, but.
It's just the way.
I see, it's the same,
Yeah.
So with the totes, like, will the, whatever profit from the totes go to chapel, or is that going somewhere else?
If there's a profit, it could go to grad students.
Do we have a goal? Do we set that was 25,000?
I think we went back and forth on that, and
Should we
then
have one of those little thermometers?
we currently have on the website, it says how much raised, and like I'll manually up that, but the thermometer thing has really helped in the past. Fundraising campaigns, like going to places and coloring that in, people seem to like that.
We have like a couple events coming up over the next month or two that like. we could
Have it at the holiday party.
Yeah.
Let's
Get the copy hut.
Festive
Work
red.
on it.
copy her, do something.
Kyle did give me a number, I'm just trying to.
Oh, let's make sure that we reduce it, but, so the AMI. Thought it was 30.
I think it went up.
There it goes.
Interest rate dropped.
Kyle, do you?
I read
Sorry, can you repeat that in here?
What's the number that we set as the goal for the grand fundraiser to get the AMI?
Let me double check that. I can pull it up right now.
I think maybe I heard this, but in the fundraising effort at the rough draft, there's a QR code printed somewhere that people can take a picture of and make a donation at the table.
Yeah.
Right there, that's what I heard sort of up there.
Yeah.
We're saying to take your pictures.
Yes, and we
Yeah,
have a tablet.
Yeah, so they're
Keyed
sitting
into
right
it,
at the
and
table.
Swipe and square.
Yeah.
Where's the offices or everything?
I have, but I'm pretty sure they exist.
Because nobody has cash anymore and, it's
Totally.
or checks or whatever, so.
I think we have a swipe thing too.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I
So-
remember that one.
I believe the goal is 30K, but Kyle's double checking, or maybe it's changed. But in any case, I will send it around an email to confirm who can come next Friday. And then there's just some additional collateral to work on for the fundraising. Otherwise,
That 30,000 number is correct.
okay, we're in good shape and you can confirm 5 to 7, please.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Could you also ask them where we'll be, where they should?
Well, we have set up a table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Children's
Kids
book.
area.
The kids here.
You know, when they like where the couches are,
Yeah.
that's where they find.
Just cover all your books with our before and after.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be at the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we'll be.
That's all for costs.
And is that in place of you discussing doing something at non-vote potentially?
This is
This is.
in place of, or possibly in addition to.
Okay.
Depending on how it
It's
goes.
gonna be busy.
It's a long winter.
Yeah.
Do something, Valentine's Day,
All right, thank you, Bartek. Back to you for the governance.
So we have some bylaw, can I discuss the bylaws?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are some bylaw changes that we put in, basically saying that any board member or a relative of a board member
Or an employee.
or an employee cannot purchase property that the land bank is selling for a 2-year period
After they leave.
after the leave.
And
From date of resignation.
yes, and I believe we settled on that they cannot enter into, I guess this is, I don't know if we explicit, I can't remember. But I think we said was you cannot enter into service agreement during your term as an employee or board member, which is pretty straightforward, but I don't think our bylaws have that. So it's just a conflict.
Service agreement with the organization.
Yeah.
That's while you're board member, did we, I thought there was also discussion about after.
It was, and then that got clipped, that 2-year discussion.
So should I just actually read it?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
All right,
So I
so,
gave you
no current director, officer, or employee of the or corporation organization shall acquire any interest, direct or indirect, in real property of the corporation, any real property to be acquired by the corporation, or in any real property to be acquired from the corporation. In addition, no current director, officer, or employee of the corporation shall have any interest, direct or indirect, in any contract or proposed contract for materials or services to be furnished or used by the corporation. Furthermore, for a period of 2 years following the completion, termination, expiration, or resignation of individual's capacity serving as director, officer, or employee of the corporation, no such former director, officer, or employee of the corporation or their respective relative or related parties shall be entitled to acquire any interest, direct or indirect, in real property of the corporation, any real property to be acquired by the corporation, or in any real property to be acquired from the corporation. So, in short, while you are a board member, officer, or employee, you cannot acquire any property that the organization has. You can't apply for homes. You can't enter into any, you can't have any interest in a contract. After you are a board member or officer or employee, there's a 2-year sort of limbo period where you can't apply to purchase any property, but the contract part is only while you are currently an employee or a board member.
So the contract part is only while you're actively engaged, let's say.
Exactly, while you're currently a board member. Once you are no longer a board member or no longer a staff member,
Okay.
the contract part does not apply.
Okay, great. I just thought that I was gonna ask if there was a fail-safe, like somebody left the board and then they went to look for Meta or something like that, and then we would all of a sudden have a conflict of interest. Would we need to have like a fail-safe clause of some kind, but it sounds like it's already okay.
So we discussed that because I think where we landed was our existing conflict of interest provisions sort of already cover that, where it doesn't, this wouldn't explicitly prohibit that, but it does require that, you know, let's say you are, let's say Owen no longer is a staff member and goes and takes a job at Maida, right? That would have to be disclosed and we would evaluate it in light of that conflict of interest, but it doesn't explicitly prohibit that.
Great. Thanks.
And from an employee standpoint, thinking about it, it actually clears up some uncertainty around whether or not I also have a contract with the land bank. Of course I don't, because I can't, for example, being an employee. And then I believe it gives the organization some good flexibility. If someone was no longer an employee, but the organization wanted them to help with something immediately.
Right,
It's
exactly.
like, I think that's really good.
I have I guess, I don't have any family here or anything that would be interested in applying for any of the homes, but what's the reasoning for having that if we have a lottery system that like we don't control?
Talked about that too.
Yeah, we talked about that too. I mean,
I'm
it's,
just curious.
no, it's a good
Not-
question. 'Cause we had the
I
same
mean,
question.
the lottery kind of, it's like, what's the point of any of it with the lottery system?
Yeah.
I mean, really, just, it's for optics too, mostly, like, I think there's an element of like, we just can't have someone
Yeah.
directly related to someone on the board getting a
Yes.
property. Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I mean, even with as advanced as we've come with the
Yeah.
lottery, with like the amazing thing that Owen put together last time, like. That only works, like, nobody's digging into like, oh, is this actually a random number generator? Like, unless you have all the, Info behind it. if people don't have confidence in the system, then it sort of fails, and we felt like for optics, like, you know, someone's cousin applied and they got a house, it would be.
Cousin actually isn't included as it.
Okay, cousin is.
Doesn't
Moderator.
need-
Yeah,
And the 2-year timeline was in why?
I think we got that from another group, right?
The Albany County Land Bank uses 2 years. That's the standard. And thinking about our development timeline, sometimes we start things and then 18 months or 2 years later, they're for sale. Not usually that long, but sometimes it can take that long.
Because it, by extension, it means you can apply after 2 years,
Yes.
Right.
right? Which I think is, which I've always thought was important,
Mhm.
right? That you wouldn't be excluded in perpetuity for any reason.
So
Yeah, we felt like, to your point about the construction, you know, after 2 years, you've probably been away from it long enough that you don't have any like material information that could give you a leg up on someone. I don't know what information we have anyway.
But that brings us right back to the lottery, right? So-
Right, exactly.
But from an optical point of view.
Yeah. Exactly.
This person who didn't have heat or hot water for a couple months, I just.
Any questions on it?
Are we voting this? in
No, I
order
think we
or
have
next
to
month?
read this time.
Yeah,
I would read again and then vote.
okay, okay.
Read the vote next.
So if there's
So that
questions,
sinks in.
or yeah, any questions you have about it, we'd like it's a good time to discuss them. No? And then we'll sleep on it for a while. And you'll remember it. So we come back.
Yeah, as long as Nate rereads it next month.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, Rutland doesn't, they're like.
yeah, okay, got it.
It might be good to.
So I realized as we were talking through this that one thing I hadn't mentioned about our sales and marketing campaign is by virtue of the ARPA stimulus dollars, we are required to abide by local preference policy in the sales and marketing of the unit. So meaning that we have to set aside a certain number of units, first come, first served basis for existing residents of Kingston. It's the first time we've done it. And
In this current lottery?
for a percentage of the units, which exceeds the number of homes in this lottery. So it's like, I think we should just do it for all of them, maybe?
So 70, if it's 70, we have maybe one unit that's not. Like 75 now, yeah.
Yeah.
But would it be 75% of all 6? Because they're all part of the same.
It has to, you have to look at the total pool and see.
Yeah. Yeah,
Where are we
that's a new
thinking
wrinkle
before
to the
into
campaign.
Yeah, we'll figure that out before January.
We figured it out before November 1st,
Oh,
because it's got to go in our, we got to communicate it to our.
It has to be disclosed in our materials?
I don't know,
Okay.
I haven't thought about it. I didn't think about it. Just like.
It's gonna be okay.
It'll be fine.
It's gonna be great.
I think as long as they disclose it as per the home.
Or maybe in the application, the rough application.
Yeah.
Or something, maybe. A vast majority of folks who register are local residents, like a vast majority. I don't know the exact percentage. And almost without exception, existing residents have purchased homes from us or residents that were displaced. And we're able to move them.
Which the policy accounts for. It's a 2-year time.
2-year time frame. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And it just, will that affect the lottery, like the lottery system at all,
Yes.
just how it sorts?
Yeah,
So that
there's
seems
like
like
a
it-
point system.
Okay,
So like, if there's 4 different categories and it's like current residents or displaced get first dibs, so we'll have to revamp the lottery.
I was gonna say, there be some reprogramming, it seems like.
Yeah, and we have to have Repco, because we're not gonna have that information, so they're gonna tell us like, this number has this number of
This
points.
makes sense,
to it.
yeah.
So, still excited? Still exciting. It's really good.
That's all the government's. And I'm glad.
Thanks,
It
Brett.
is,
What's the timeline from the lottery to, how long does it generally take from the lottery to being able to hand the house over?
60 days is what we're hoping for.
It's 60 days is the min-max, like that's what it is, right? It's 60 days?
It's usually been around 60 days because the package that's submitted for review before the lottery includes a commitment letter from a bank. So you're in the line of sight of the bank and they've agreed to blah, blah, blah. But to actually get the bank to issue, it's called a clear to close, which means you're clear to close. That's about 60 days.
So
That's what we're-
in order to get in, people's finances, situations can change radically over time.
Totally.
So it's that we feel that it's tight enough from the time you get into the lottery to when you can actually close so that you're all of your financial information stays relatively stable over that period of time?
That's the art of this whole process, is to make sure the home is ready at the perfect time when you haven't, had to have financial situations where you purchased a car or new line of credit or things like that. And so a 60-day window is really, that's about as tight as you can get it. And I know Repco counsels everyone, like, please don't, if you can avoid it, don't do all of these things, because that will change your credit score and change your ability to close.
Okay.
Is that why we have options?
Yes, that's one of the reasons.
I know, that's right.
There's a couple of reasons we have alternates. So hopefully we have at least 3 floors for each house. So we end up with 12.
Cool. All right, moving on to design. So that's me. So first, this was our goal at the beginning of the year, and it's shifted a couple times, and but now we're finally, I think, starting to get around to it. So we're taking a closer look at our existing design handbook, looking to see what sort of revisions need to be done to take into account. For example, right now it doesn't contemplate new construction, so just sort of adapting that as the organization has adapted and grown, and just sort of making updates to that. So we're gonna start working on that. Starting off with just the intro section and sort of the high level tenets of the handbook. So that's ongoing. The other thing is I'll mention again the photo repository. I know Mike sent around the box link.
Mhm.
I uploaded some the other day that I realized I was going through like a bunch of photos because my phone was out of space and I needed to like organize photos. And I finally uploaded some the other day from when we had that photo op with the mayor and Abby. So I made like a folder for Abby. If you have any photo, like especially as we go to the walkthroughs with Owen, if you have any photos you want to share, totally at your discretion, but feel free to go to that link. Do you want to send it around again?
Yeah, no problem.
Can we go point 5? Sorry, point 5 or regular?
Whatever.
It doesn't matter. It's just like, do you want like more photos or just detail, anything?
Whatever you have that you want to give, like we'll just have a repository to go to whenever we.
I was gonna say, can we put the link like on the drive so that way?
It's actually a Dropbox link, so I couldn't.
Yeah, even if it's just like a
Oh,
Word document.
I see what
like,
you're saying.
just-
Sure.
just like,
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Here's that way.
That's a
people
great
always
idea.
have to send it,
Totally.
you know.
I will post it and send it.
So that's it for design. Still nobody here from the public. So we'll go through the public comments and on to new business. So I'll start with the first one. So we have, as I think you all should know, the KCLB officers are on a calendar year. So at the end of the year, we have to hold our elections. So I wanted to just take an opportunity. Did we just figure out, are we off in November or December? Which month?
December 16th, November, I don't believe that we're off.
Okay,
I will check now.
because I feel like we should do it.
We took August.
November.
You'd like to do it, you think we should do it?
I just feel like people might be traveling in December,
Got it.
although November is like right after things.
The election would be in
After,
November?
before. Yeah, at the next board meeting in November. That'd be the 25th, I think. Which might be
That's
right
like
after
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving's late this
Right
year.
before.
isn't it?
24? 25th.
Would be right
You're right.
before Thanksgiving.
Okay, so yeah, it's like the Monday right before Thanksgiving. So I wanted to, I guess, first check, because I don't know which of those meetings is more likely to have everybody available
Versus December 16th.
versus December 16th.
Wait, isn't the fourth Monday, the 23rd of December?
It was, and we moved it.
Oh, we moved it.
Yes.
Is there a reason not to, is there a bylaws reason that we don't do a digital election?
I don't think there's a bylaws reason.
I mean, we could have a conversation about it and then, I just, my memory of it is a little hazy because it's full of my feelings about being a treasurer, which I've come to love. So, no, I haven't, I've learned a lot, it's been great. I'm certainly gonna run again, but, I'm just not sure what our methodology is and
Yeah,
in terms of discussing and whatever.
that's what I was gonna talk through next. So
Great.
you're one step ahead. I just wanted to nail down the date first while
Yeah.
everybody was here. So is there a preference among the group? Does anybody know they're gonna be traveling at a particular time?
Show of hands for November, show of hands for December.
December, the 16th. Definitely be here for the board meeting
Okay,
that night, because it's the third Monday.
let's say November then.
It's November.
Yeah, I think that'll be, keep a little more runway. So we'll plan for November. If there's any issues, let me know, and maybe we'll come up with well, I'll get there when I get there. So, in that case, we'll plan for it in November, which is November 25th. So with that date in mind, here's how I think, this is gonna work roughly the same as it did last year. So the process is, if you would like to run, and once I'm done running through this, I'll talk through all the different positions and what they do, and all of our current officers can talk a little bit about what they do. But if you would like to run, to send your intent to Mike by November 11th, which is 2 weeks before. That's, you're in Chicago that day, but
It's okay. Still get email there.
you said it in Chicago, it's still working.
Still working.
So send that to Mike by November 11th, which is 2 weeks before the meeting,
2 weeks from today.
also 2 weeks from today. If you'd like, you can include, please keep it on the shorter end, so we don't have like big long things to read. But can include a 1-paragraph, brief position statement of why you're interested or what you want to do, whatever you want to write. Once those are all collected, say by November 18th, which is 1 week before the meeting, Mike will email those out to everybody so we can see here's who's running for what position and here's their position statements. So you all have at least a week to read through them and understand them. At the meeting, we will do vote by secret ballot, but good point. If there are people on Zoom, that maybe we should come with a digital option, we'll think about that. But for now, we'll just plan to do by ballot, just writing on notes like we did last time. Mike and Stacy will count. Even if, sorry, I volunteered. Even if it's unopposed, like even if people are running unopposed, we'll probably just do it by secret ballot, just to keep it all uniform and I don't know if people are write-in candidates. Last minute, yeah.
Before the holiday party?
What's that?
If it's just like for the voting, could we do it before the holiday party? On the 13th? Or does it have to be?
I think it has to be a lawyer party.
No. Right before, like, we'll walk in and be like.
So I'll get to that. Okay. So the other thing we'll carry over from last year, if a particular candidate is unsuccessful at running for a particular position, you're allowed one drop down run. So if you run for vice chair and you don't win, then you can drop down to secretary. But you only get one, so you can't just like go for every single thing. And that's a way to sort of, we don't always have a ton of people running for stuff, so make sure.
But we have a gap this year.
I'm getting there.
Okay, sorry, I'm just so
Everybody-
excited.
So we will most certainly have I don't want to assume everybody who's in the current position wants to rerun for their role, but we will most certainly have at least one vacancy, with Bartek unfortunately being termed out as our faithful secretary. So Joanna asked a good question about committees. There's no real like correlation between an officer in a particular committee, other than, I think historically, the treasurer runs the finance and audit committee just by default, but that doesn't have to be the case, so, yeah, totally open. The position, so we thought it made sense to just sort of do a quick run through of what the positions are, let the current officers talk a little bit about their experience in the role, because even in our bylaws, like, there's a lot of stuff in there that we do that's just not in there, so. Because I was looking at mine today, and so there's a lot of stuff in there that's not. So there's 4 positions, we've got chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. All of those positions also make up our executive committee, so every other week, and right now it's on Wednesdays at 10, but you know, depending on the makeup of the board, that can be flexible. We have our sort of executive committee meeting. All the officers also act as the compensation committee, so they also review any sort of annual compensation for our staff and those types of tough conversations. Hopefully not really. Outside of that, so the board chair presides over these meetings, obviously, executing agreements along with Mike. And then outside of that, it's just kind of like, less so, sort of to a lesser degree than Mike, but all kind of the public face of the organization sometimes, like when we had ribbon cutting, like I did a little speech at the beginning. There was a press release that I recorded. And other than that, it's just kind of like oversight and involvement in all organizational matters. I mean, this is also like can grow and change depending on who's in it and what you want to do. So that's that. The vice chair, in the absence or incapacity, apparently, to act as the chair. Or if the chair becomes vacant, they preside over meetings of the board, perform the duties and exercise the powers of the chair. Yeah, anything you want to add to that, Aaron?
No, I mean, on paper, it's so good if you weren't here
Yeah.
most of the meetings. Outside of that, it's just a lot of kind of conversations about different things as they come up, because a lot of things come up between meetings and they're kind of run the gambit and what they are. And so it's a lot of just one-off conversations with Mike and with Stacy and with the chair to figure out kind of strategies on how to navigate situations related to marketing, related to buildings, related to squatters, related to development. You kind of, could be anything any week, but it's, and then when he's not here, the chair's not here doing the meetings.
I guess treasurer is next. I was not secretary treasurer, but it's bylaws are done.
We can amend the bylaws.
Treasurer, if required by the board, apparently you can obtain a bond. Didn't know that. The treasurer-
Land banks can issue bonds.
Apparently the treasurer specifically can obtain a bond.
Let's do
According
it.
to our bylaws.
Get a bond.
Oversee the chief financial officer of the corporation, review the books and accounts, advise the chief financial officer about investment in the funds, ensure proper deposit by the CFO, which we should probably change that. Yeah, anything you want to add to that?
No, I find it interesting and useful and ever more edifying as the organization shifts and changes. So to me, I'm really appreciative of Stacy's and Mike's willingness to explain some of the arcane terminology involved in banking, for instance, and some other things like that to stay on top of. So in a more, I think that that looking forward is maybe more than looking backwards. You might have a treasurer who's more concerned about how we're doing with the bookkeeping, you know what I mean, or the disposition of funds, whatever, and I think that the system itself and the organization is so tightly tightly and clearly executed, that's not the primary role that I see. I see it as looking forward in terms of how are we acquiring funds, disposing of funds, and how are we making sure that we're prepared for any unruly eventualities that might occur to make sure that we can stay doing the work that we want to do. I don't want to use the word solvent, but we are dependent on a lot of different funding sources, so we want to be able to choose the right projects and do them well. I think that that falls within the Treasury and Finance Committee's discussion. I have a question though, this seems like really stupid in the circumstances, but who is the CFO?
Well, that's what we were just saying, yeah,
Yeah.
that's old language,
Yeah,
so
Okay.
we have to change that.
just in case there's one in the closet somewhere.
The big reveal.
Big reveal. Okay, I'm just a puppet.
Okay, now it's a pleasure to have you, Kurt. All right, thank you, Rebecca. Secretary, duty of the secretary to act as the secretary of all meetings of the board. Keep minutes of all such meetings in a proper book or books. See that notices required to be given by the corporation are duly given and served. Current list of directors and officers and their residence addresses.
It's good we're reading this out.
Yeah. It's gonna be
We do have
secretary shall be the custodian of the seal of the corporation and shall affix that seal or cause it to be affixed to all agreements, documents, and other papers that require it.
signature.
Custody of the minute book containing minutes of all meetings of the directors, any other contracts or documents. Yeah, anything you want to add to that?
That's it.
Cool.
Can't wait to pass that box on.
Are you the only secretary
It's the
that's?
first and only secretary.
Wow. Extraordinary.
In terms of these roles, those who are in them, how many extra hours a month do you find that they?
That's a good question. Well, we definitely have our executive board.
Which is about 30 minutes every other week.
Yeah. We've been pretty good at keeping it to a tight 30.
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends, like, I don't know about what you guys think, but it can vary, like, if we have really weird, like, if we have a squatter situation, there's like weird stuff that you're emailing me about, like, it can be. It's not a ton, I mean, it's not like, I think we've always felt like, that we want to be accommodating to people, at the end of the day, this is a volunteer position, like, we are respectful of people's time, we have a great staff that, like, you guys run the ship without us really having to do too much, so, that's,
A few more.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think you're also not expected to like suddenly to like be on call 24/7. It's generally speaking, like, it should not affect, it should interact with your day kind of thing.
One type about, because I feel like that's the most like material.
Well, it used to be that I had to write out the minutes of each meeting, but now I'm basically just writing the resolutions and record minutes. So it's not as intensive.
Because we're recording them, is that right?
Yeah.
And we volunteer to walk our next secretary through all of the means and methods.
Yes, I mean, it'll take hours, but.
Any other questions?
I mean, I guess I found it in my own tenure. And I'm actually surprised, I don't think I knew or really was cognizant, aware that this was only a year. I thought for some reason it sort of matched my board tenure, but no, the officers. But I did find that having too many committees and the finance committee officer stuff was not really workable for me. So it was better for me to withdraw from some committees so that I could pay more attention to learning the ins and outs of the finances of the organization, being responsive to the executive meetings, so. So that's just part of my learning curve.
Any other questions? Make sure everybody gets their questions answered. If you do have any, you can reach out to you. Of course. Great.
Great.
It's just.
Otherwise, get your intents into Mike, what do you want to say, by the 11th, November 11th? Yep. I'll remind everyone as we get closer to it. Cool. Okay, next, we're in executive session, right? So I have to entertain a motion to move to executive session.
Motion.
Second,
All in favor?